What up, demons? It's your boy Tom here with the one, the only, the illustrious Graham Hindu Man Hatfield.
Tom's woken up in an interesting mood today. That's what we're recognizing so far.
I'm excited. Dobbos Disciples and European Powerhouses. This is a high-octane matchup that we certainly want to take a look at.
Is it, though? Because this is Dobbos who are like on the run to try and be one of the top two teams over on the console and Xbox versus the Powerhouses who are anything but powerful.
Well, we'll take a look. We'll see the standings. European
And this is what I mean. Look at them. They're at the bottom.
Yeah, but still.
They found nothing. Good day, sir.
Maybe they'll find a game today.
That's the dream.
That's what we're looking for. Team Ricardo is there in third place. Team Rival is there in first place. We're looking at the Even Stevens, Dobbos Disciples, taking on the European Powerhouses. And as Hindu said, the Disciples on a tear lately.
Yeah, well, they've been doing pretty well for themselves. For the most part, sat in second position with Vaporish Coast and 60-meter fly on this roster, I guess. You're not really surprised to see them doing pretty well and then competing with Rival at the top. Whereas the bottom is a bit of a different tale, where it's the story of the team that's just having a hard time getting things going. Same can be said for what we saw at VGS Gods earlier.
Yeah, kind of troublesome for them trying to figure out their roster and all these moves, etc. Dobbos Disciples, on the other hand, these guys have looked real strong. OverPoweredUSB has been a big point, but this guy right here, the Pentakid, Vaporish Coast, has really been bringing it this season.
Yeah, it was interesting to see what happened at the end of the last season with how, that Rival squad that we once saw then split apart and do their own thing. And, well, these are the teams we've got now. But Dobbos have been consistent throughout from my point of view. I mean, 6-2 so far, how the season's been.
Yeah, it's been a nice turnaround. And, you look at the elongated story of console, and it was North America, North America, North America. Europe really didn't hold a candle to NA at all. And then all of a sudden, Rapio came through and people were looking at him. And then him and his squad kind of got toppled by this Dinosaur, Vaporish Coast sort of team, and they became a team that everybody's looking at, and they still winds up winning Worlds, but this is one of the first times that the Europeans can actually contend, and then they break up, and you find Vaporish Coast going one way and the rest of the team going a different way, and that's who's been exciting to watch in Europe.
Sometimes that can really help out when you talk about the league as a whole. So Europe struggled against North America in terms of console. So having a team in Europe that does very well, let's break apart and maybe take that knowledge and experience they've got of doing well against North America, then being able to spread out and share with the rest of the league can be helpful.
European Powerhouses, though, quite a different story as they struggle to find their footing and kind of grasp onto the wall that needs to be climbed, that is the European Console League. It's been tough.
And I think the one balance is trying to find the stage of the game that they want to focus on. Is it going to be an early game composition that they're going to try and play through to find wins? Or is it something more mid-game, late-game focused? Or just the balance of the three? Sometimes I feel like this team can fall apart in the early stages, and that can come back to haunt them.
Also, a lot of trouble that EP has is trouble kind of keeping their roster together. We see this as kind of a harrowing tale for a lot of these lower-end teams where they just don't have the facilities, the wherewithal to keep players involved. And as you lose and lose, you still have trouble getting players involved, and that keeps you from getting yourself involved and really figuring out strategies. Listen, when you're losing, you've got to continue to take those and turn them. You got to turn your L's into lessons, homies. And that just has not been happening here for EP.
And the one thing I can see from that is that they have the ability to land damage and they're actually able to confirm kills, but what is after the fact? Where is the objectives going to come from? And if they don't find those, that's where they lose. The stuff after the stuff. Yeah, let's carry on. I saw it coming.
You like that?
This is what I deal with.
That's cool.
Daily. It's been years.
It's been 7 years.
It's been too long. 64 years.
Picks and bans, please. Dobbos Disciples on the left side. They've got first pick and, of course, the first ban. And we'll see how this one all works out. Right away, we see the Artio ban. And you can see right down below what we expect to see banned. Pretty much the Artio, the Shibalanke. A lot of Armada bans, actually. High count there.
The one thing to mention about the bans against is obviously it's the whole phase and not just the first phase that you'll see. So like the Vermana, the Odins, you'll more than likely see those get counter banned in the second phase more than the priority bans here, which is why we see Merlin taken out straight away.
4 are going to be banned out by Dobbo as well. They really want one of those power picks, so kind of keeping themselves open. Merlin won't be available, but Shibalanke certainly is. If he doesn't get banned out, you still have access to Achilles, Bologna. So the Shibalanke is banned out. As I said, Achilles, Bologna, Fuea, even if you want to go in that direction.
Jormungand is available as well. We don't see too much of it on the box. And I'm a bit surprised.
Banned out last game.
It was,
So,
and that's why I'm like,
yeah.
well, Jormungandr is up here, so Dobbos have the opportunity to take it. They could take it support, but more importantly, the one man that has really risen to the top charts at the moment has been Achilles.
Got to go with this guy whose ability to provide damage, stay mobile with the shirt off, finally executes with the ultimate.
Stay mobile with the shirt off.
Hey, man. Somebody's taking pages out of Tully's book.
That's true. Funny enough, though, with Dobbos banning the Thor, I was like, why ban Thor when Rat's available? I mean, Ratatoskr does the same sort of thing, but a lot of people find it easier and better to use Ratatoskr anyway.
It's very interesting. I have had that thought process a lot of the time, but I think that Thor wall is very important. And when you don't have leaps, Achilles is one of the characters that does get stopped by Thor wall. So banning out the Thor, Ratatoskr, very similar character, but Achilles can get past him.
Could just pick Ymir solo, right? That works. It's got a wall too.
Sure.
It works out sometimes.
Terra also going to be a character that falls victim to a wall.
But the Terra Achilles composition.
I
already...
like the Ymir solo.
Okay. Neat. With Hunter's Blessing?
I like the Ymir solo.
Terra Achilles, though, is a great start for Dobbos, and you're already like, okay, that's the front line taken care of.
Right.
We can look towards the back line, and Dobbos going to give, Vaporish potentially Jing one of the easiest, safest hunters to play. I want to say easier, I really just mean safest. It's alongside Hachiman, a little bit better than Hachiman in terms of safety options.
Epics, European powerhouses, looking for another selection. Cernunnos will be the hunter of choice here. Jing, one of the safer characters in the game, and certainly a nice look overall. Ratatoskr alter, she can agility away, no big deal. Cernunnos, on the other hand, a nice team fight ultimate. So that should change things in that mid game for sure. Dobbos Disciples looking to respond now, as the first man in the secondary phase is going to be Hun Bats. So no fear, no evil available here for the purple helmets, as Dobbos now looking for their first secondary ban, and it'll be a Fafnir.
Not surprised to see Cernunnos picked up, but I am surprised that we don't see as much Cernunnos this year as I expected to see. Most of the time, I think he's been kind of slept on a little bit with how much of an impact that ultimate can make in the team fights, and his safety isn't too bad, but one thing that he does lack is obviously his mobility option is a little bit limited with it just being a dash. Maybe that's one of the reasons we don't see him as often. I thought the Runeforge meta may have helped him a bit, but not to be.
More bans here. No Robin, says European powerhouses. And Dobbos finishing off the ban phase here, looking for one more after their Fafnir ban, and it will be the Bellona, a very strong character in her own right. European powerhouses, we pretty much know where everybody's going to go. Jungle, mid, and carry, depending on where Sol and Cernunnos feel like fitting. So you've got a Guardian, support, and a solo lane looking for a job here on the right side, and Dobbos on the left side are going to be filling themselves up with a mid laner at the very least.
Not often you see a Hercules into the likes of Executes more than anything else. Executes do get shut down, do shut down healers that want to get their heal afterwards. Obviously, mitigate wounds from Hercules is great, but you don't get the heal until after you've taken the damage.
I was having a conversation with somebody about this the other day, as Odin is locked up to really control Hercules, and I like heals into executes, because the idea is you're going into your execute mode, and then I can heal above that and kind of negate your ultimate.
I get that. I think the biggest thing is, though, Hercules is one of those that's like bangs the mitigate wounds and goes, okay, hit me, and then if you do hit him, he's still waiting for that heal to come through at the end. He can still be executed there.
That's fair.
With the Zeus lock in, though, I was a little bit worried about Dobbos' comp when I was like, okay, Achilles, Terra, Odin, great front line, and just a Jing you need a big damage dealer left over, and they're going to get one in Zeus.
Odin's also going to be able to bring some sort of damage as well, but the Hades is certainly a nice pick. I love this. I would love to see Hades mid. Instead, I think we're going to see Hades solo with a little bit of a support flavor out of the Hercules. Dobbos Disciples looking to continue moving forward while the powerhouses search for their first win. Game 1, ready, set, go.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Hindu. Finch and Tolley now on the call, as it is Dobbos Disciples going up against the European powerhouses. And Dobbos Disciples, I think, are the well-earned favorites going into this match here, Tolley, right?
You could say that.
They've got Fly, they've got Coast, a ton of power on this team. And they've got a pretty good draft as well. Now they got Fly on this Zeus. Yes, he is a mobile, but that's a ton of damage they'll have at his disposal.
That's true. And on the other side, European powerhouses constantly having to switch up their rosters since the beginning of the split, still trying to figure out their identity. Going for this Hades solo, I really like it. And then the new Season 6 strategy. Doesn't matter what league it is, because supports are running at your jungler at level 1.
Yeah, this feels a little bit akin back to the very start of Season 6. They moved a little bit away from this, but yeah, still the harassment, still not letting you do your speed. Even blinking over the wall is this Hercules to slow down Colossxl. And if you can, man, slow down the way that this Odin moves to the early game, that's such a big boon because his damage can be so much for everyone else to deal with if he's able to farm.
Finch, the blink was so clutch. I loved it. I loved the potential to steal it. And now even harassing out Fly to make him hurt to the point where he has to pop some health potions. No more remaining with his aggressive Book of Thoth rush start. And still being aggressive at level 1, utilizing that Hercules passive.
Beads even come out from Fly as well as he's able to stand up even to 3 members that rotated. He will die eventually from this, but he is getting a little bit of help.
This is worth.
Genesis is just stealing farm. This is actually not a bad move at all from this Ratatoskr to come grab some.
He's still alive the whole
Chain
time.
lightning missed.
And now he's wasting time of overpowered USB. That wave is going to get denied under that tier 1 tower. His blue buff is gone as well. This is as clutch of a play from Tiger that you would want out of your support player. Yes, he's died. Yes, he gave up the first blood bounty, but Dobbos Disciple doesn't have that 500 gold bounty that you would normally expect them to have, only sitting at about a 200 gold deficit instead, denying so much farm.
And we talked about this a lot at the beginning of Season 6. You're literally just trading the piece on your board that is worth the least for the piece on their board that's worth the most, right?
Yep.
Colossxl is the enemy jungler. If you can deny his farm in the early game, there's almost no better use of your time. And it wasn't just him. Like you said, Fly was pulled in and missed a wave. USB missed one too. He was able to impact 3 lanes just for his own cost.
And also the Totem of Ku now goes the way of European powerhouses, electively tying the gold. As the experience could tell a different tale, most of that experience is the lost experience onto your support. But if you can keep Colossxl a little bit behind on the Odin, delay the cage, this could give freedom potentially to the Soul, not having to worry about it. Maybe a Ratatoskr that could be A-okay and safe. And seeing how they don't invest into the level 1 Phantom to escape that Odin cage, that goes a long way delaying the cage.
Well, remember, he didn't even get a blessing. He just went right into tier 2 boots, as if to say, I know I'm not getting any minion wave kills, right? So he's going to rush right into those boots. The only thing I would worry about is that you often pick these warriors in support because they can get those levels and do so much with them and kind of be bullies early on. And maybe putting yourself behind limits some of that value potentially for him, but as long as he continues to do things like go and steal the red buff, then they'll be A-okay. He's picked up for himself and finds the pull. That's a dead Fly every day of the week.
Genesis able to get credit for that kill in a 3-on-1. Not the place you want to be as a Zeus with only tier 1 boots. Beads were on cooldown, not able to escape the clutches of European powerhouses.
Yeah, Tiger's the one that set all that up for him. Fly tried his best to not be in trouble, but like you said, with those beads forced out earlier in the jungle, his options were limited. That means now Tiger and Genesis can strip away the blue buff as well from USB to limit his options here on the Achilles in the Soul lane. And they'll continue their harassment of Colossxl now onto these back Harpies too.
Absolutely love it. The Hercules and Ratatoskr joining Colossxl. I think his jump was down to clear out those back camps. He only thought it was a Hercules.
And he ends up falling. Another kill goes the way of Genesis. And totally, you're right. I mean, he must have used the jump there. He had no way to get back out. He ends up taking another kill, spill. So far, this Hercules start in the jungle has worked out really well for EP.
Just look at the difference in Assassin Blessing stacks. 37 for Genesis after the kill and the assist. Dual lane, Vaporshkos needs to find this.
Goes right up into the airstrike, can't find the damage there, and Compromise responds with the Bramble Blast. So no one falls in the 1v1, though it looks like only Coast used his beads. That's a nice win for Compromise.
And I was going to talk about the difference of stacks in the Assassin's Blessing. Colossxl taking that 1 death, sitting at 16 stacks as opposed to, 43 from Genesis.
Yeah. Really
close to finishing that off to get the extra penetration and movement speed. As if Ratatoskr needs extra movement speed, being able to finish off his Acorn without even having to back to base.
And it is just a little bit more experience too, or a little bit movement speed. Is up in the air as Genesis. He will not be able to find the knock-up. A well-timed leap from Colossxl gets him out. Fly tries to drop the slows as well to slow down this engagement. Yet again, the red buff is under siege. Switch goes in to look to defend, but now set up the walls just to break off the path. But yet again, EP get in there and steal the buff.
Second red buff consecutively. EP establishing a 1,600 gold lead 5 minutes in because of this early Hercules harass. Getting off the Talaria boost into the Guardian's Blessing now. Having this power curve, the MP5 from this one item to be able to spam your abilities is really helping everyone out of EP.
Tiger blinks into the pull, tries to wait out the Purification Beads, but can't quite find Fly. But he's got that important relic on cooldown yet again. This Zeus has not had a moment to breathe all game long.
Great tactics out of Tiger. Unfortunately, had an awkward angle on the pushback. Waited out the beats, but it just wasn't enough, and that's still a good enough window. 140 seconds until Genesis' ultimate should be able to capitalize on the immobile Zeus that doesn't have that much damage to return. Zeus's peel is only damage. So when he's sitting at level 5, doesn't have Book of Thoth, no pen boots, that damage onto Genesis, he'll survive that and still find the kill.
This is so interesting. Look at what Tiger's done. Remember we talked about how he went right into the boots? Well, he finished them into Talaria, which is a great pickup for him, rotating around the jungle so much. But now he's picking up the Guardian's Blessing. And really, it doesn't even set him behind because he wouldn't have been getting much minion stacks on that anyway. He needs those like deaths, assists around him to stack up the Guardian's Blessing, obviously. And so now that he is farming a little bit more, he's picked it up. I kind of love the way he started.
It makes sense. 48 gold per minute is still going to be 48 gold per minute, whether you finish it at 2-minute stacking versus 8 minutes. That 6-minute differential, you're looking at about, what is that, 240 gold or so. So losing 250 gold off of that, not finishing it that early, is not the end of the world. I still like the idea that he's had.
Hey man, I would, if you could spend 250 gold to give your soul laner, jungler, and mid laner all leads, I think you would. Tiger, though, might now finally be getting punished, though that's quite a few ultimates expended for the pleasure. The red buff goes down for Dobbos Disciples, and it looks like it's worth it. There's no fight on the back end, and they defend their buff. And they finally shut down Tiger.
Third time's the charm in the defense of the red buff. In a 4-on-1, you better be killing a level 6 support Hercules, because if you're not killing him then, you'll never kill the Hercules, as he's going to get more tanky items, finish off leveling up that mitigate wounds. A little overzealous was Tiger, feeling himself, I would say, but the problem was that the rest of his teammates weren't in position to follow up. Normally, you would want to sacrifice your Hercules for a red buff invade if you can especially find another kill, knowing Fly's beats are down. That's more than likely will be a kill, but no one else there.
That's exactly what my problem with that was. The red buff invade has been their game plan, right? So I wonder why Tiger was so far ahead of the rest of his team. He was on time. I imagine everyone else was a little bit late.
He's trying to roleplay as Hercules a little bit too much, thinking that he's invincible, but realizing that he does bleed, as every other god on this battlefield.
That's a nice counter, though. They go back and steal the red buff away from EP this time to try and recoup some of their losses. Though Switch, isolated in the jungle, might be in trouble. Still has the dash to reposition and makes it out of there no harm, no foul. Though Tiger continues to be a nightmare. He's caught up with Switch in terms of experience at this point, and he'll catch up in gold soon.
Ooh, solo lane. Look at this rotation underneath. He tried to stop the back, forcing out the beats from Fly. I guess it must have been mistimed or miscalculated, because those beads are back up.
That's right. I think, like you said, he really wanted Switch, but was a little bit too late to get there and stop Terra. So instead, he'll settle, in quotes, for taking the beads away from Fly yet again, who has been under duress all game long so far. But really, if it's only one death, that's not so bad. It isn't just one death, though. He's down almost 2 levels in experience to the soul.
Doing the build that Divios demonstrated in his first set, starting the Warlock staff, sitting at 75 stacks, 9 minutes in with cooldown boots. This would be the true Divios build if he goes for the Mantle of Discord third item.
Right, because he already gets just a dummy amount of protections inside the ultimate anyway, right? So then you add on a little bit extra from that mantle. They all get stunned inside the ultimate and pulled back in is the idea when you cross that threshold. So we saw, as you said, Divios used it to great effect. Can Azrael here in the console side of things do the same thing?
I like how OPUSB is adapting to that by picking up the Pestilence as quickly as possible, trying to mitigate some of that healing, the self-healing from the Hades, the little bit of the Hercules, knowing that Cernunnos has that spring stance. Solo lane, though, 2-on-2.
Anti-heal going to be critical in this matchup as Tiger gets stunned out. They dropped the cage. That's the best anti-heal as they drop that to reduce all the healing. But USB left isolated, forces the Fatal Strike early, and still gets knocked up by Genesis. A nice kill for the Rat.
It was a 2-on-2, 3-on-2 with a Rat global presence.
Was it though? Colossxl left so early.
He did. No, he did. He's like, nah, fam, I'm not taking this Hades ulti. No way.
So maybe USB hoped it would be a 2v2, but Colossxl kind of dropped the cage and was like, I'm out. I've done all I can do here.
No Phantom to be able to get out of it, and they don't care. EP wants to fight into that because the Hades damage Hades has so much damage, even though he's not going to be able to heal in the cage. he has plenty of protections during that ultimate, so you don't really want to focus out him. And knowing that Tiger is there, he's going to be dealing a lot of damage in that little corridor where there's so many walls with the boulder bouncing around. That was a rough fight for Dobbos to take.
Now, I know that this European Powerhouses team has done a good job in the early game, and this is a team that is going to do well there. They got the Rat, the Hercules, and the support. Are you worried about this comp at all if things end up going late, though? They don't have a traditional, Guardian or anything like that on this team, and they might be hurting for some control.
Not really, because they have Soul. They have plenty of damage to burn through the traditional Guardian that Dobbos has. Yes,
Sure.
Switch can easily swing a team fight, having that Earth and Fury, mitigate your own damage, boosting theirs, but she's going to fall relatively quickly. You're going to have to be building a lot of physical and magical defense, so hybrid items are going to be the main focal point for Switch to survive that. And looking at the Bancroft's Talon so far, there's plenty of damage coming from the Soul. I'm expecting them to kind of go for this early Gold Fury with their objective control.
No reason why they shouldn't. They're even working on the Odysseus bow there for Compromise on the Cernunnos, something that I feel like we see often on gods who are trying to have those team fights soon. Really, the only reason I think why it's worth not getting something with a little bit more power in that slot and instead this Odie bow is if you're spreading those procs a lot inside those team fights. So look for them to group indeed. Is Tiger in some trouble? They have him stuck inside the Lightning Storm, an easy kill. Though there's a couple ultimates they've committed. Can European Powerhouses punish?
A wild hunt being used by Compromise.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, no one else there to follow up, and that was an easy pick yet again. The second caught off death from Tiger. The first death I don't really mind too much, but the next two afterwards, that was just him being a little bit too far overextended without any real assistance. But now assistance from the solo lane around the Skull Fury, trying to juggle the aggro. They do have the vision control of the Oracles.
And they don't have to worry about Colossxl or Fly's ultimate here. They know those were all used to kill Tiger, who's actually on his way back up, so the cooldown on the ultimate was actually way more than the cooldown on the man himself as Tiger rejoins the fray. But Dobbos Disciples are nearby. At least two of them are, to be fair. The rest of them are quite spread out. Colossxl way off in the jungle, so is USB. This absolutely might be what European Powerhouses want.
They want to take this fight knowing that Zeus ultimate's down, as is the Odin ultimate, Vapor's Coast, trying to see what he can do, but he's going to get zoned away by the Hades.
And that means the Gold Fury goes down. Chaos side grab it, now Switch in some trouble as he's pulled in by the ultimate coming out from Azrael. Way too strong, and Compromise finds that. It looks like Genesis, though, can't find his own knock-up, and Coast still survives for now, though even if he did knock him up, it is a Jing way. Airstrike gets him over the wall, but everyone's waiting for him. He repositions back towards the tower and makes it back out. Coast, Houdini's it.
How does he survive?
Of
A
course.
1v4, of course, Vapor's Coast gets out of that one. A funny interaction we actually saw utilizing that Terra passive. Hercules sometimes can hurt your team by pulling and pushing people away, but the Terra, once that monolith is down, can't be displaced with knockbacks, so that's going to help find an easy target. Tiger with a driving strike inside the Hades ultimate, a great pick after the Gold Fury, finding Switch, allow them to just control the dual lane, getting another 500 gold in the Tier 1 tower.
This is exactly the time, though, that European Powerhouses have to keep forcing these fights, forcing the issue. Soon, though, these teams will group back up. Coast only about a level and a half or so behind Compromise at this point. Same for Fly. That's about where it's been all game. They've got to try and expand this out a little bit further. They're at 5,000 now, but they might need a little bit more up against this tough Dobbos team.
You could tell the red buff invades have hurt Fly a little bit. Also, the early rotation and pressure from Tiger being able to shut down the Zeus, giving him that one death. Sitting at level 10 versus the level 12 from this Soul player. That's the strength from EP currently. Is they're double ranged hunters, whether it's physical or magical,
Right.
shredding the Gold Fury, shredding that Tier 1 tower in the duel lane.
And Azrael goes in right away. USB, the first one pulled in and then pushed right back into the wall. Cage, though, comes out from Colossxl to buy his team an escape path. Switch drops the Earth in Fury and continues to dance. You're not trapped inside the cage, my man. He's on
dead.
your team. And now he's pulled back in. Lightning Storm, though, comes back over the top, but it's nowhere near enough. The Terra ends up falling. Azrael looks for some healing, too, and manages to live throughout it all. They only lose Switch.
Genesis was potentially looking for something, but can't find that second kill. Finds Colossxl in the jungle, nothing to worry about there. And that's such a great pick. Switch is going to get picked off every given moment, not really having too much health in his build, getting that Lotus Crown. Lotus Crown for the healing is funny because, yes, you get it from the Terra's ultimate, the Earth and Fury, but you're going to be generally popping the monolith a lot for the root, so you're not getting healing off of that to get most of these 20 physical protections.
Yeah, I don't know if Switch really had to die there. That looked like a real disconnect to me, because Colossxl comes in and drops the cage, and that does get USB out of trouble, but then Switch dashes in to root them inside the cage like he's expecting follow-up from Fly. This could be more trouble, though, as the cage comes out, but undeterred is Genesis. He's able to bring him down. Coast, though, weaves in the autos and at least finds the one-for-one jungle for jungle as EP fall back.
Tiger not able to really make an impact with that blink, and that's what you really want to see is how can Dobbos Disciples capitalize off of the aggression from European powerhouses. Trading out jungler for jungler really allows Colossxl to get back in the game, or at least keep Genesis in check, because it doesn't matter if your Odin is going to be carrying the game. He can easily be switched to the utility role to get some cooldown reduction, which he's done, by the way, 30% between the Jotuns and the Gladiator Shield, so you know he's just going to be spamming those cages, forcing out Tiger's second relic to be the Phantom.
It's just the one Phantom this time, too. So most times, Colossxl's going to be able to hit home with those Odin cages. So you're right. Even if he's behind, cage is still cage, my man, and you still can't get out of him. So it can certainly still be strong. That's why I continue to stress how important it is that European powerhouses do things like this. Force the issue, make Dobbos make difficult choices, and fight into your lead as the Fire Giant now well below half HP. Switch nearby to try and contest, and so is USB, but they're going to commit onto it, but USB just walks in. It just isn't enough, though. EP secure the objective, and now the Achilles in trouble.
He's going to have to Fatal Strike away defensively, popping the health potion, going to get chased out by the Soul. Needs one, maybe two basic attacks, but doesn't have the mobility to keep up with that Achilles passive. And keep in mind, they purge Coast, split pushing the dueling.
And he should keep going, at least for now. There's no one to deter him. It looks like Azrael has backed, but he's teleporting back into this one. No, he does go over to the tier 2 tower on the left to finally slow down Coast pass on the Jing way. Meanwhile, Switch and Colossxl considering defending the tier 2.
It's a 2-on-4 defense, so it would be very difficult to really maintain that tier 2 tower surviving. But it looks like EP wants to spend their gold, play the safe way, knowing that this Oni Fury is about to spawn.
They've got plenty of time, too. There's really no need that they have to force stepping up there. They've already forced Coast back. They're no longer under threat of that tier 2 being split push on the left-hand side. Go spin this gold, because they did exactly what they're supposed to do. They pulled that FG. They forced Dobbos to fight. They nearly lost it to USB.
Sure.
But they secured the objective, and now they can go back and re-push properly.
A great try from USB to blink into that back line. The boulder from Tiger was a little bit delayed. A very ambitious 17-minute Fire Giant that works out for EP. And they are really commanding this game, Finch. 8,000 gold in the lead.
You're right, totally, to stress how impressive this is. Because Dobbos have looked like a team that can beat Rival, who's up there at the top. In fact, they did beat Rival the last time they played. So Dobbos are trying to get to the midseason invitational. They have bigger aspirations than this game that's happening here in Week 10. And EP out of nowhere have stepped up and said, well, it's not so easy to buy a ticket.
Because every region in the console, it's only one team per region, right?
You're exactly right.
So it's basically between Dobbos and Rival.
Yes.
EP have no real shot of making it to the MSI. So they're basically playing spoiler, but they're playing as if they're about to qualify.
And they look like maybe they've earned it. Genesis just barely makes it up onto the tree, and he's earned exactly what they wanted. That left side, Phoenix is down, but they're not done fighting just yet. Azrael goes back in, but can't find the heal. He does find the ultimate. Execute, though, way too early from USB. They don't find it. They eventually get the kill anyway and make it out, so they are not punished.
Trying to disengage after losing their solo laner. Let's see what they can do. Dobbos Disciples on the chase. Achilles has plenty of movement speed to catch up. Even gonna blink in, forcing out the beats from Compromise. Gonna get locked down a little bit further with Switch.
He has to use the Aegis as well to try and keep himself alive. He is able to reposition, but the Surge not done yet. They take down Tiger. Vaporish Coast. Who else finds the double? And Compromise goes down as well. And they're gonna keep surging forward. They have time before the minions actually get there on the left-hand side to try and force down a Phoenix of their own.
You can never count out Dobbos Disciples with okay. Stellar Burst in Colossxl's face, gonna take him out casually. I mean, no magical defense, no elf. You're kind of expecting Soul to do that much damage to a level 15 Odin jungle.
That's a great point, but that was so critical. I think if they still have Colossxl, they can make that push. He even died with the ultimate up. The threat of that cage was removed, and just like that, Dobbos find now very little on the back end of their surge. What a play from the Soul.
Still trying to make something happen with 2 Fire Giants remaining on the Soul and the Ratatoskr for about a minute and a half. Could look for the tier 2 tower in middle or the right-hand side. So even though they did lose a couple of members during that siege, they still got the primary objective, which was the Phoenix in the dual lane.
But they've got to make this Soul the target, Toli. You highlighted it early on, right? That this Soul was something that could carry them in this late game, even with such an early game-oriented draft. And so far, it's worked that way. 1-0-5, 3 levels ahead of where Fly is on this Zeus. They haven't done anything to slow her down yet.
Well, it's because that the pressure from Tiger was just too much from Dobbos to handle. They were not really expecting it, I guess, or they didn't know how to adjust to it. Because even if you are expecting a Hercules, like, how are you supposed to really stop that unless you counter invade right off the bat?
They brought 3 people down there, and they couldn't kill him in time. I mean, they sure tried.
But that was a little bit later. It wasn't immediately as the speed buff spawned.
Right, they certainly weren't prepared for it right away. As the boulder rips through the cage, Colossxl already half HP and has to jump away. But that's not so bad from Dobbos. They at least get the Wild Hunt out from Compromise and the boulder from Tiger. So really a 2-for-1 in terms of ultimates in their favor, though they do use the blink from Colossxl.
Still going to be difficult for Dobbos to hold on to this Fire Giant that's due to respawn in the next minute. Because of these fire minions on the left-hand side. It's getting closer and closer to the throne room. You're going to want Vapourish Coast to defend that and utilize the Jing passive to get back in the mix around the right side of the map.
He's definitely the best suited to do it. He'll split that farm, though, with USB as they try and push this wave up, which is perfect for European powerhouses. They know that still USB is not here. Now he has the teleport. He might be able to upgrade that. No, it already is. So he can teleport into wards, but it has to be done sooner. The Fire Giant's already done. Dobbos don't want to defend this one at all. Though they did it so quickly, it won't be the enhanced version this time.
No, not at all. Needed to wait out another 2.5 minutes. Genesis gonna try to stop Colossxl in his tracks. Gonna force the defensive cage. Tier 2 middle tower looking mighty juicy for EP.
This has been so impressive from EP so far, Tully. I can't put it into words, man. This Dobbos Disciples team has looked like not just a team that could make it to MSI, but they can make it to MSI and be a team that you have to be afraid of, and one that you have to worry about. Now, European powerhouses who've been no factor all split long, all phase long so far, are coming in and hitting him in the jaw right out the gate. Dobbos haven't had an answer.
EP have been able to check off the boxes necessary to get an advantage and maintain it.
Yes.
The early pressure from the Hercules, the red buff invades into the Gold Furies, finding additional picks here and there as a unit, utilizing their aggressive blink plays, not getting picked off because they have the vision, and now even getting the Fire Giant. So this is just looking like a clean game now. A 10,000 goal lead is good at 23.5 minutes, but Dobbos Disciples has a way to still defend. It's going to be off of the area of effect damage between the Zeus, the control that they have with Switch, the single target focus from Vapourish Coast, as he's now has 5 items, needs to sell off that Hunter's Blessing, probably for what I was guess would be an oboe.
They really have, though, and you started to highlight it, done such a good job chaining everything together the right way. Pressure early from the Hercules, red buff invades, Gold Furies, then 2 Fire Giants in a row, and they came and pressured the Phoenix right away. They even got that great kill onto Colossxl to stop the counter push into mid-Phoenix on their side. That might have relieved some of that pressure. Now, though, they must come and bring it all together and pressure yet another Phoenix and stop Dobbos before they get their items completed. I mean, there's only 4 items there for Fly right now. They've got them so far down, they have to capitalize before they have time to farm up even more.
Yeah, it's definitely not looking pretty for Fly.
15.
4 items deep. How does EP kind of handle this, though? Because they have so many options of how they can split this map, knowing that the left side Phoenix is respawned and weakened. Genesis is going to be the one there, utilizing that global pressure. Normally, you want to put more members on that weakened side Phoenix, but this makes sense as well.
Azrael goes in first, his target toast. They immediately, though, drop the ult right on top of him, and Azrael gets burned, and brought down. Fly answers back, but the mid-Phoenix has been burned as well. Azrael bought his team the time they needed. Meanwhile, Genesis is threatening the Phoenix on the left-hand side, and he'll be able to grab that one too, and get back out with the ult, even though they lose the solo laner. That's great for EP.
Oh, great look, getting 2 Phoenixes. It's what happened in the last Phoenix Siege, as Azrael gave up his life on the left side Phoenix, so this time even more value, getting 2. and they could just wait out the next Fire Giant. This is a slow and steady methodical strategy where just because you have one Fire Giant doesn't mean you have to end the game during that specific buff duration. You want the enhanced Fire Giant to confirm the last remaining Phoenix, as it's even weakened a little bit from this Oni Fury wave that was left unchecked. And with that enhanced Fire Giant, that last Phoenix won't stand for longer, chipping away at more protections, more health, more damage away from Dobbos Disciples. Titan makes it an easier opportunity for EP to get the first game of this best-of-3 set.
Doug, can we see net worth here too? Because Fly has made some big gains in terms of experience, but how far is he behind in terms of gold?
The bottom.
Nearly 3,000 still, though, behind this Soul. So even though there's been big gains in experience, I mean, that's a full item that he's still behind. So it'll be a while before Fly is really able to equally contribute.
Trying to get Spear of Desolation, his third penetration item. Not really working on Ratatoskr, as that's been a popular pickup by some of these SPL Zeus players, utilizing that passive with the Detonate, knowing that you have a lot of initiation damage with your frontliners, and that Detonate is pretty effective with that item.
Azrael has been so tanky for this team too that Dobbos Disciples, even when they full-on commit to him, they just can't kill him in time. The Mantle, the Prots, and the Ultimate, the Onis as well. I mean, it's just so much to try and bring him down. Like you said, the Warlock Staff that he got first item, it's absurd. And now it will be the Enhanced Fire Giant. And totally, I don't even think Dobbos can come out of their base to contest.
No, they definitely can't. They had to invest a lot to kill out Azrael last time, and that was because his dash was used offensively. If Azrael can just be a little bit cleaner about saving his dash for the escape afterwards, then EP's fights are going to be even cleaner. It's going to be harder for Dobbos Disciples to even find one pick.
They can feel the wall starting to close in around them now as the Enhanced Fire Giant respawns in. Dobbos should be well aware that this objective is going down in favor of EP, and all they can do is push these waves up and be ready for one last defense. We'll likely be fighting on this right side Phoenix on the right-hand side since those other two Phoenixes are down. It looks like that's exactly where European powerhouses are headed to try and push in these waves.
14,000 gold ahead, 5.5 to 6 items completed. Still need the last item for the Soul. Probably going to be the Ratatoskr. A lot of damage coming out of her thus far. Can we look at the player damage?
Well, that's right. A call for network. We never moved back. So yeah, he's doing good so far.
And it's a lot between not only the Soul, but also the Cernunnos. These two backline hyper carries had so much freedom to do what they really want, knowing that the damage from Dobbos is being used mainly onto Tiger or onto Azrael for those initial picks.
That's right. It's just too much damage they've been able to do. And really, it's because they've been afforded so much space to operate. They've never been under duress, the two of them, this game so far.
It's been very clean from EP to clean out the game, utilizing about 2 fire waves in the mid lane as the Phoenix is due to respawn. Utilizing a 2-3 split. Phoenix is in middle, about 30-second window until that respawns. That's going to allow another wave to enter the left-hand side, and that Phoenix is going to respawn as well.
EP have already started to move in. Azrael keeps Fly zoned off, so it's just 4 left to fight as Genesis waits to bring down the mid Phoenix. So they drop the cage, does Colossxl, and that forces them back for now. Right side Phoenix still stands. Knock up on the USB is there, but the mid Phoenix is back up and immediately under duress from the waves. Right side Phoenix goes down as well, and Dobbos Disciples starting to buckle under all the pressure from European powerhouses. 5 members strong, they might be ready to siege. Even left side Phoenix will fall.
There's going to be a lot of fire minions coming from the left-hand side with Enhanced Fire Giant. This is the time that EP can really flex their guns, but OPUSB is going to take the fight outside the Phoenix.
They have to take the fight off the Titan or they'll lose instantly. I feel like this is the right call. Supernova comes through as well, but doesn't quite hit home. USB is so low, but no one can make him to it. Genesis dashes through as well. He looks for Coast, who's forced to airstrike defensively. They pluck back in Switch. The Terra now in trouble. Can't even get the dash off, and he'll fall first. Genesis finds that one. Titan well below half HP. Even with the Lightning Storm, it's not enough. And European powerhouses, they find the first win.
And despite being behind in the kill count, EP come out with a Game 1 victory. Impressive start, impressive mid-game, even more impressive end.
That's huge, man, because it's not just whether or not they can win the sets. Dobbos Disciples need to be able to have their plus-minus competitive with Rival as well. So even if they come back and win this one, which is no guarantee with the way EP just played, they might already have been too far away just by losing in the plus-minus. Every one of these games is so important at this point.
I'm surprised they took that fight outside the Titan, seeing how EP was clearly on the retreat. They weren't going to siege that Titan quite yet. Maybe they were going to wait for the Soul to finish off that 6th item, but either way, I do agree they needed to take a fight outside the Titan. Maybe not that fight,
Maybe
though.
not that one in particular. We saw the results now, so certainly it didn't work out for them. A huge win for EP, though. Let's get it back over to the desk. We'll have them break it down.
The first game that they take home, we were talking about it, maybe even joking about it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting to beat Dobbos here after being sat at the bottom all year so far, right? Like, no one expects that. I think a lot of what that came down to, Tom, really was Colossxl in the jungle playing the Odin. He went for a hybrid build, but did less than 7,000 player damage at 27 minutes on an Odin. I would have preferred him to go tank. He's got a Zeus and a Jing way. He fell behind 0-3-8, didn't really get much going for himself. He obviously is a setup artist, but could have done more, I feel.
Huge plays out of the Hades, though, as well. The solo lane really brought it together, and I think the control that the Hades was able to bring, thanks to the early game dominance. If you aren't just joining us and you watched the first match, you heard us lament the Ymir solo. Largely, I was concerned about the build. I said, let go of the Hunter's Blessing and go tier 2 Warlock Staff. Hades does that this time around, and plays like this allowed him to build up that Warlock Staff, build into more expensive items that allowed him to be set up man later on. So the dual lane, no compromise, and Hercules able to provide this early game pressure, which led to some mid-game dominance by way of the Hades, and then late game, well, it was just this simple.
The good news is everything came together for the Powerhouses. They need to keep this going into Game 2 now. I think the difference is Dobbos Disciples are probably going to step it up a little bit. You generally see this from the more seasoned teams, the ones that have, been around near the top for a while. They may take their foot off the gas a little bit, but I expect them to ramp it back up for Game 2.
I mean, this was 8 to 9 kills, right?
Yeah.
Dobbos Disciples extremely competitive and close here. 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, they got 9 kills. It was actually more kills than the opposition. European Powerhouses won this with fewer kills than DD.
The top gold on the side of Dobbos Disciples was Vaporish Coast, and he was still 500 gold less than the support player of European Powerhouses. You mentioned the build out of Azrael. We were talking about off air. Warlock Staff and Mantle of Discord as your first 2 items. That's not a cheap build, but that's how awkward is it to look across the map and see that the solo lane has got full Warlock Staff stacks and a Mantle of Discord and full boots, and he's sailing.
And that was the beauty of it, and that was not the reason that European Powerhouses win the game, but a large part of what delivered them the key to victory. I love that we're going back to page number 1 because Tiger AJs and No Compromise really got this started in the early game. The booties came out with the very standard builds, and then what happened was Tiger AJs and No Compromise were able to get kills number 2 and kills number 3, and we see Hercules just go, all right, I'm all in, baby, and doubles down with the Shield of Regrowth.
Yeah, the mobility option with Talaria into Shield of Regrowth. I looked at it and was like, well, okay, he's hella mobile. That's the main thing, so he can avoid a lot of damage. I think more importantly is you got to see what can happen in a Hades versus Zeus matchup in the team fight areas. And if a Hades is behind, Zeus is going to, end his life very quick. But Hades gets ahead, has the Mantle, as we said, and the Warlock Staff, plus Thorns. Zeus isn't going to have fun there.
Also, I feel like we're just going to mention every item that Hades bought, but it was important. Owning Hunter's Garb, he understands he's going to be surrounded by enemies as they try to take him down during Pillar of Agony. And the very rarely, the underpurchased, if you will, Bulwark of Hope coming through. It's got a ton of stats on it, mainly to deal with the Zeus. So when Z-Man Sr. comes through and tries to do his thing, Hades goes into the Pillar, gives himself an absurd amount of protections, sits there in the middle, and we actually saw this not just once, maybe even twice, where the Achilles would go for the execute way too early because Hades is much more tanky than he thought, and a lot of situations like that allowed European Powerhouses to take advantage. As we look to game number 2 and ask the opposition to kind of answer and change things up,